Alright guys, hello and welcome. So in this video we will be doing the Advent of Cyber 2025 Day 21 challenge, which is all about malware analysis. So in this video we will learn about how we will do the malware analysis and forensics. The story we have over here is that people over there in this valley came across different kind of file formats like docs, PDF and CSVs. But have they ever wondered how they can exactly know which of these formats can be malicious and which one can't? So what exactly we'll be doing in this challenge is we'll be investigating HTML format, which is basically like a short format for HTML. These are mainly used for like web pages. So in this challenge we will reverse engineer the HTML file, and we will also look for these application data script function and these two stuff as well. So let's start the attack box from over here, and then we can then click on the check as well so that we can move to the task 2. Alright, so let's talk about what happened because of the HTML format. So not too late, but in early 2025 a group of hackers used the HTML file. They use these HTML files for verification page to spread a kind of ransomware, and because of that many organizations were affected. So yeah, HTML file is something to concern about. Let's discuss about what HTML files are. So think about the HTML file like it is a regular HTML web page that we open in Chrome, obviously. But HTML files are what we open directly on our Windows devices. And the thing about this is we don't need any kind of browser for this. This specific HTML file format exists because many IT administrators use this for automation. But the same thing that helps the administrator to automate different tasks, it is also used by the hacker. The HTML structure is like we have first the HTML declaration, and we have the interface, and then we have the script. This first part include the declaration and include basic properties like title, window size, and basic behaviors. As you can see over here, this is the application and this is the ID. This is the application name. There's a bunch of these stuff. This is the first part, and this is the second part. This is what the user sees, like this is a visual, and then the third one is the script. This is where the actual action happens. Don't worry about the detail about all this. We will just discuss later in the video about all this in very detail. Okay, so we can move to the next step, which is from survey to security flag. So what basically they are saying is that some of the employees has got some email, and in that email there is an attachment of HTML file, and they are asking from us that to review the HTML file and provide the feedback that what actually the HTML file does. So now what we will be doing is to review the HTML file and understand it and provide the feedback. And to do so they have given us two ways: either open the HTML file in the attack box or download the HTML file from over here in the task 1, as you can see over here, and then you can open that file in some like TXT reader, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going for option 2. I will just run it on my own device because it's more reliable and better than running on the attack box. It's very buggy and very slow, so very better to run it on my own device. So I will just download the HTML file and run it on my own device, and then we can analyze the HTML file. As you can see, I have opened the file in the Visual Studio, and that is the file content. Now let's start the analysis. First of all, as you can see, this is a declaration of HTML file. Over here, as you can see, this is the title of the file, best festival company developer survey. So the attacker or hacker use such kind of names to make this HTML file more legit and make the IT staff think that this is the real survey. So they are more likely to download and then click on it. And then as you can see over here, this is like application ID. This is like a unique identifier for this specific application. And then we have the application name, which is the festival elf survey. This is in that it will show in the taskbar, like if we are checking the taskbar and like finding out if there is any like malicious activity running or program. So over there we will see this specific name. So when the IT staff opens their taskbar, they will see, yeah, this is the festival elf survey application. this won't look like a suspicious application. And then over here we have the application logo. This is most probably the company icon. And then we have the border. This is set to the thin. This is exactly the same as we have on the Windows, like for the Windows Explorer or any other application. And then we have the caption set to yes. What this does is it adds something like this, as you can see, the cross and minimize, maximize. And so if we set this to no, there will not be any caption over here. And then we have the maximize button. There will be no maximize button, and there will be also no minimize button, so it will be like a fixed size window. And then over here a single instance is equal to yes. What this means is that the application will only run one time, not like 2 or 3 times. This is because the attacker don't want to prevent multiple infection or errors. And then we have the Windows state, which is set to normal, like a normal file explorer. This will be shown on the screen, not hidden or anything else, to make it more legit. And then we also have this menu is equal to yes. Now we can move to the next section. This was all about the metadata, and now we are going to start the JavaScript or the visual display functions. And now over here, as you can see, this is just what the user will see, not like anything malicious. It's just like a fake survey. Over here these two lines, what these does is like, let's say, have you visited the South Pole, or have you visited like this specific place, or anything, like a question for survey. So if the user click on the yes, I have visited, what it will do next is it will hide the never option, like it will hide the I never been there. And then we have the never function over here. What it does is it's very opposite to this one. If the user click on the never, it will just hide the visited option. And then over here we have the submitted function. When the user click on the submit button, there will be like a spinner or a loading icon, and this line will just hide all the questions. And then this line will just show the message to the user like thanks or thank you for participating, something like that. And then we have the submit function. So in the submit function, what this line does is that when the user click on the submit button, it will just hide the submit button. And in the second line, as soon as the user click on the submit button, there will be like a spinner for loading. This means 2 milliseconds, which is like 2 seconds. So the loading thing will just move for 2 seconds, and after that the submitted function will be called, and the spinner will get hide, and same the question, all of the question will also get hide, and the user will only see the thanks for participating. This was all about like a real submission process. While the user is interacting with all of this survey, the script will run in the background. And now after that we can move to the next section, which is where the actual action or attack happens. Bro, this script is way too huge. Okay, so this guy over here, as you can see, when the user click on the HTML file, first of all a window will pop up, and immediately before the user sees anything, this function will run, and it will make the user busy and ask them question for the survey. So the user will get busy in this question answer while the script will run in the background. Okay, now we have this function over here, the get question one. So first of all we have the dim. Basically this means dimension, and what it does is it creates variable like IE, result, decoded, and decoded string. These variable will store different kind of data. Like the IE will store the Internet Explorer object, and the result will store the whatever we have downloaded from any of the URL, in this case from this. And then the decoded variable will store the base64 decoded data, and then we have the decoded string variable which will store the final string version. And after that we have this line. What this does is it creates like a windowless Internet Explorer application. It's like opening the Windows Explorer, but the user will not see it. It will run in the background. And then we have the third line over here. As you can see, what this text, the selected text, does is it tells the Internet Explorer to visit this specific website. Hey, I have a question. Can you see if there is anything wrong with the URL? If you can guess before I tell you, so let me know in the comments, and if you don't know, it's okay. So this is a survey, and if this were from the real company, the best festival company, their website will be like bestfestivalcompany.com. but in this case, as you can see over here, there are two eyes, but in real domain there will be just one eye. So you see, this is Typosquatting, as we have discussed that thing in earlier challenge. Basically, a attacker registers domain that looks exactly the same as real one, so you can't see the difference very clearly. Everyone will just fall that, even you and me. Okay, so now the next line we have is that what it does is tell the the request we have sent to this web page. We will just wait for the request to get completed, and this line does nothing. It just wait for the request to get completed. And then the loop over here, you can see what this does over here is it tells like keep waiting until this specific thing is downloaded from this website. As you can see, this is a txt file. It's just saying don't continue until this specific text is downloaded from this website. When this gets done downloaded, you can then move to the next step, and this line just get the content from this downloaded file. And then this line just close the the hidden internet explorer, because we don't need it anymore. We have just downloaded the txt in this file. If we can also download like some payloads or malicious software or anything that we can use for further attacks. And what this line does is it will just call this decode base64 function where the downloaded data we have just downloaded from the website. We will just discuss what this decode base64 function is in a minute. And this line just call the rs binary to string function that will decode the binary data into human readable format. We will also discuss this in a moment. And after that, this line, what it does, it calls the provide feedback function and passes the decoded string through it. And after that, we will just end this function. And next we have the function provide feedback. Now we can actually understand what is the provide feedback function. Bro, it's raining really hard here right now. Okay, so this line just, as this create the variables str host and str user, str domain. So the str host will store the computer name, and the str user will hold the username, and this will just store the domain name. And the next line, as you can see, what it means is if any errors happens, just ignore it and continues to the next line. So this is what it means. I mean, the hacker uses lines like these. If gathering computer information fails for some reason, just don't crash the program, skip it and run the next line. So this is why it's over here. So this line just gets the computer name, and this line gets the username. And then we also make another variable which is IE. As we discussed above, this just mean Internet Explorer. We are just telling it over here in this line that visit this website, and this is the endpoint. And now we can use the the extracted user information that we just extracted, and also the host name as well. And this same means that if wait until the request is completed, and after that get the Internet Explorer. And this line over here means that make a variable name run object. And then this line over here, what it does, it create like a Windows shell, basically like a command prompt that runs any command, and we then run this command. So let me just break it down for you. So this is the variable we just created over here, and we use that variable to dot run means to run this application or this exe PowerShell. So this runs the PowerShell, and this -nop means no profile, like don't care about any of the profile. And this -w hidden means open the PowerShell but make it hidden, not like it must not be on the screen but run it in the background. And then we are specifying the command, like this mean -c mean command basically. And if you remember, this thing contains the PowerShell script we downloaded from that website. And this end just connect the command to this thing, basically like a joint between both of these. And this 0 means just make the PowerShell hidden, don't pop it up on the screen, just run it in the background. And this false means just execute the command and immediately return the result. And after that we have the end function, which means just end this function. And now we can move to the third function, which is decode base64. In this function, first of all, we created dm and el variables, and this line create the object of XML DOM. We don't need to get into much detail, just know a little bit about it, and then we can move to this line. This will create the XML element with the name tmp. This could be of any name, and this line just tell this object that we have just created that the data you will receive is base64 encoded binary format. And the next line over here, it just puts the base64 text into this element. And after that we have this line. What it does is it just let the data of this element to decode the base64 data automatically. And then we have the end function line. This just end this function as well. We can now move to the another function. Okay, so we have this function. This just create the binary variable, and this line over here means that checks what type of data was passed in and prepares it. Like it means what data was received and what format we are going to convert that into. Alright, so now let's answer these questions. So the first one is, what is the title of the HT application? Let's open both this window and the Visual Studio so that we can see both and answer accordingly. Hopefully you can see both of the windows. So as you can see, this is what they are asking for. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. Okay, the second question we have is, what VBScript function is acting as if it is downloading the survey question. So this is asking about what function was used to download the survey question. So we can see over here is this specific function was used to download the survey question. So we will just copy this and paste it here. Okay, the third question we have is, what URL domain including subdomain is the questions being downloaded from? Okay, as you can see over here, this is the subdomain and this is the second level domain, and this is what we call top level domain. So we are just going to copy this, not the HTTP but subdomain, top level, and these three stuff. Let's copy this and paste it over here. The next question we have is, Malhare seems to be using Typosquatting domains that look the same as the real one in an attempt to hide the fact that the domain is not the intended one. What character in the domain gives this away? So as we were discussing this function, I have told you that there is two eyes. If the survey question was from real website, there will be just one eye, not two. So we have the extra character eye. This one asks for how many questions does the survey have. So this part is like most likely in the end part. Let's just count the questions. So this is one question. This is just the intro line, like telling this is the survey. So this is one question, this is the second, this is the third, and this is the fourth. So we have total 4 questions. So let's just type 4 here and see if this is correct or no. The next question we have is, notice how even in code social engineering persists. Fake incentives like contest or trips hide in plain sight to build trust. The survey entices participation by promising a chance to win a trip to where. So we will just read this last part and find out the place name. See over here you can see something about the participation and the prize. So let's just see this line. Let me scroll and you can see it is talking about the trip to the South Pole. So let's copy this and see if this is the correct answer or no. Let me copy and paste here. And yeah, this was the correct answer. Now the next question we have is, The HTA is enumerating information from the local host executing the application. What two pieces of information about the computer it is running on are being exfiltrated. You should provide the two object names separated by commas. So if you remember, we have created the variable like one was to store the host name and another was to store the host name, and another one was to store the domain name. So let's see about that. As you can see over here, this is what the answer is. One is computer name and another is username, because they have asked about the object names, not the variable name, which str host, str user and str domain. So we have just not used this one, but these two yes. So these are the objects. Let me copy this one, and after that let's just copy this one as well, and let's click on the check and see if this is the correct answer or no. The next question we have is, what endpoint is the enumerated data being exfiltrated to? So let me tell you about the endpoint. Endpoint is basically a specific path on a server that handles a request. So if you see this URL, this is the protocol we use, and this is the subdomain. This is what we call the subdomain, and we can identify this by the dot, like whatever is before the dot, it's just what we call the subdomain. And after that, this is the main domain or second level domain, and this .com is what we call top level domain. We have like .org, .io, .uk or .us. These are all the top level domain, and this is what the endpoint is. So we are going to just copy this and paste it over here. The next question we have is, what HTTP method is being used to exfiltrate data? So let me tell you about some of the methods that we use in the HTTP. One is what we call put, another is delete, and another what we call patch, and another is head. Put is like to update the resources, like when you update your username on any social media. This is what when we send the put request, or this is what when we use the put method. And in delete method, what we do is like if we don't like any of the image we posted, we just delete it. So this is when we use the delete method. And we also have like post one, which is what we like send the data to the server, like filling any form, for example. Or we have another one as well, which is what we call get. This is what we use when we want to extract data from the web page or the website. So the important thing over here is, when the data is in the URL, this is what we call the get method. And if the data is in the body, like the body of HTTP request, we call it post method. So over here, as you can see, this is the part, this u is equal to is the part of the URL or our query. So this is get method. So we will just type get here and see if it's correct or no. And yeah, this is the correct one. Next, another question we have is, bro, this room has so many questions. After reviewing the function intended to get the survey question, it seems that the data from the download of the question is actually being executed. What is the line of code that executes the content of the download? So to find this answer, we need to move to the provide feedback function. Let's go over there. As you can see, this function downloaded the survey questions from the server, and then it was sent to the decode base 64 to decode it, and over here the data gets decoded, and then in this line we call the provide feedback function and pass the decoded data that we downloaded from over here. And after that, in that provide feedback function, we created the something like to fetch the computer name and username, and then we use that data, this data, and the provide feedback string that we passed, and then as over here we have passed the decoded string to the provide feedback, and that data was used over here to execute the data and get the result. So we have actually executed that data through PowerShell. So I think this line is the actual answer. Not sure about this one, but let's copy this and see if this is the correct or no. Okay, we have to copy this full line. So Let's check it again. Yeah, this was okay. So we actually had to copy the full line, so after that it will just work, otherwise it won't. And the next question we have is that it seems as if the malware site has been taken down, so we can't download the content that the malware was executing. Fortunately, one of the elves created a copy when the site was still active. Download the content from here. Okay, we will download the content from here, and then what we will do next is to find out what popular encoding scheme was used in an attempt to obfuscate the download. Let's check it out here. This seems like base 64 encoded technique, so let's try it out and check what it is. For that we will use this CyberChef tool. Okay, so they are asking about which technique was used in this script. After finding out which technique was used, you will also decode this flag over here. So I really don't know which one was used, but I've searched on the internet and find out it used the road 13 technique. If you remember, we discussed all this in the day 20 challenge. So let's just type road 13 over here and drag it over here so that this will convert back into the original one. So as you can see, we have got our flag from here. So let's just copy this flag, and this is for this answer. And over here they ask which encryption scheme exactly was used, so this was road 13. So yeah, let's just check and find out. Yeah, this one was the correct one. I mean, I really don't know how are we going to figure it out that this is the road 13, or I don't know, but yeah, we will find it out later. And we need to also click on this check so that we can see if the flag is correct or no. Yup buddy, yup, this one was the correct. And this one is saying is if you want another challenge like this one, you can go over here and you can have another similar kind of challenge, but I'm just going to click on the check this one and this one so that the room will get completed. Yeah, so finally we have completed the room. Hopefully you like this video and hopefully you understand all of the stuff I have explained. I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care.